Welcome back to the Barrie Molson Centre. The Barrie Colts flanking the Guelph Storm 3-0 after 2 here at the Barrie Molson Centre. And our Gene Pereira caught up with Stephen McLean before the game, and here's a look at that interview. Gene?
Welcome to this edition, a special edition of Game Notes here, and I got Stephen McLean with me, and McLean, of course, the OHL podcast, which you've got going, and tell me a little bit about that and what you got that's going on special tomorrow for Valentine's.
Well, tomorrow night on Valentine's Day, of course, Sunday night, 8 p.m., OHLFanboys.com. You know, we have a weekly podcast, but tomorrow we're having a live video podcast from my partner Brian Thompson's home down in Windsor, Ontario, and it's going to be a great show. We're going to be on for an hour, and our special guest this week is Sam Cosentino and from Sportsnet, and we've had in the past an array of guests. Yourself, you appeared on it last year, so it's going to be a really great show, and everyone could go to OHLFanboys.com tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and check that out. And you can chat with us too during the show using Twitter. Use hashtag FanboysLive.
Stephen, I mean, you guys have a lot of fun with that. I mean, you can tell, obviously, and look, you know, I've listened to it quite a few times, and you know, you talk about everything that's going on across the league, and I mean, you do it from a fan standpoint, and you know, it's really great. You're not kind of afraid to cover any subject, and sure, you have your guests, but like you said, you really tackle a lot of things, don't you? Yeah,
we I'm a Guelph Storm fan, obviously, and Brian's a Windsor Spitfires fan, but we do try and keep things as fair as possible. We try and cover all 20 teams as best we can, and if there's a big story going on in the league, whether it be with London or Saginaw or Flint or Guelph, you know, we try and cover that as best we can and get our thoughts on it, and for some reason, people seem to enjoy it.
Stephen, obviously, you got a Barrie connection here tonight. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, I am originally born in Barrie, so that helps too, and I got a lot of family living here too.
And you're wearing a Storm jersey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I spent a lot of years as a Brampton Battalion fan and had got a bit of a harassment in this building. So.
Steve, I mean, obviously you're a diehard OHL fan. I mean, you've gone to numerous games. Tell us a bit about that. I mean, not only do you support the Storm, but I see you out at other games as well.
Yeah, I was here a couple weeks ago for that really great game between the Kingston Frontenacs and the Barrie Colts, and you know, that's a playoff series I'd really love to come out and see if it were to happen this year. But yeah, I try and hit up, you know, if the Storm are not playing one night and I'm off work and there's a game kind of close, it looks like a good matchup, hey, I'll go to Kitchener or I'll go to Oshawa or wherever. I went to the Memorial Cup in Quebec this past spring. That was just a real blast.
And obviously you know the league pretty well. You see a lot of games, you follow it. You know, let's start in that Western Conference. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, there's 5 teams arguably there that, you know, whether it be Erie, Windsor, Sarnia, London, Kitchener are right up there, and all teams that can do some damage. What's your kind of vision of how you see this working out?
Well, you know, I got my first viewing of the Sarnia Sting last night. They were in Guelph and they won 6-2. And Travis Konechny, of course, you know, what a big get for them. You know, they're catching Windsor for that West Division. That's going to be a great battle there. But obviously the Midwest Division is always the story. The Erie Otters, I'm amazed at what they've been able to do without adding. Usually when you see teams at the top of the standings, there's always those big deadline deals. Barrie was part of that this year. Erie didn't really do any of that. They're just kind of continuing with what they've gone through the last 2 years with no McDavid this time. They're still at the top of the standings. Of course, the London Knights, I mean, you know, every year, right?
So who comes out of it? Put you on the spot.
Oh, gee, coming out on the spot like that. You know, I think it's going to come down to London and Erie. I think they're the top 2. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Sarnia break out. Now, you know what? Personally, as a fan of the OHL, I like to see different teams. If my team can't win it, I want to see different teams. I've said all year, I want to see a Kingston and Sarnia final. Those are 2 teams and fan bases that really deserve a long playoff run.
Yeah, switching over to the Eastern Conference, obviously, I mean, you've seen a battle. I mean, Niagara made some big moves. Barrie made some big moves. Kingston as well. But, you know, you got your old team, North Bay. They just continue to hang around the battalion. Stan Butler's Hockey Club, I mean, they're just tough night in and night out.
You know, it is amazing to me. You know, Stan always gets the best out of his players, it seems like. Even if on paper there should be a team that's rebuilding, they lost a couple of really big players this year in Liberati, and the name is slipping my mind right now. The player who's forced to retire, but you know, they're doing really well, and they're kind of right on the heels of the Barrie Colts. But Barrie, of course, has been so red hot as of late. I think they're going for their 8th straight win here tonight, and they're catching Kingston, and of course Kingston is no slouch either. And, like I said before, if that's who it comes down to in the Eastern Conference Kingston Barrie. It's going to be a heck of a conference final. But don't count out Niagara, even though they seem to not be able to put all the wheels in motion right now. If they can ever click, that's a team that could be really scary come playoff time.
Yeah, obviously 3 teams. And I mean, at this time of year, it's always exciting hockey, isn't it? I mean, there's so much on the line, whether you got teams fighting for playoff spots. We had Hamilton in here on Thursday night. They're locked into that kind of battle for the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. The Bulldogs have done pretty well against Barrie, and the Colts, of course, locked for that, top spot for the conference, and as well with Niagara and North Bay kind of breathing on their heels.
That's going to be a really good playoff positioning battle. It's really the only one left. I think the Western Conference, it's Flint and Guelph are pretty set, going to miss the playoffs this year. But in the Eastern Conference, Sudbury's probably going to miss. But that 8th spot, Oshawa and Hamilton have been really flip-flopping the last few weeks. And, Hamilton lost guys kind of at the deadline. Oshawa did too. But sometimes, 2 hungry young teams. Oshawa, of course, they don't want to miss the playoffs after winning the Memorial Cup last year. Hamilton's got something to prove first year in a new city. And what I'd really love to see, we haven't seen it, I don't think, since the North Bay Centennials, is the playoff tiebreaker game.
Yeah.
It's been a while, so I'd love to see one between those 2 teams.
And obviously, let's talk about a team that, close to your heart, the Guelph Storm. I mean, obviously, a team that's rebuilding. But, look, this is a team that, especially since making that change behind the bench, they've been a lot more competitive. And, as a fan and, watching this young team kind of rebuild, they're going to go through some tough stretches. But you got to be encouraged by what you've seen this team, ever since that move. Since
Christmas, it's been a lot more fun to be a Guelph Storm fan. That first half of the season, winning only 2 of the first 31 games was pretty tough to watch as a fan. But we had a stretch where we won 5 in a row and 7 out of 10. We beat teams like Barrie and London and Kitchener, and things have kind of come back down to earth. It's been a bit more 500 lately. This weekend has not been going so well. 6-2 loss last night. 3-0 loss, and things are starting to unravel here late in the second period. But Bradley Van Schubert has been very good, and I'm glad to see him having a good effort. He doesn't play all that often, so to have a really good effort tonight in his hometown has been something that's nice to see.
Yeah, a special night for him. And, of course, 2 guys that we know well here in Barrie, Giovanni Smith and C.J. Garcia. Obviously Smith, I mean, you see that big power forward, young guy. You're really starting to see the offense blossoming, and now just kind of your view of him after having a good look at him here when, the addition to the Guelph lineup.
I mean, when he showed up to Guelph last year, his first half year in Barrie, I don't think he had any points or at least a couple of assists, and he had a really good second half last year in Guelph. Even got playing time on the top line with guys like Tyler Bertuzzi and Pius Suter. This year, he kind of had a bit of a slow start, as did everybody, but, he's been picking up lately. He's got, I think he had 15 goals, or not that many, but about 11 goals in the month of January, so things have gotten really good with him. He's a really gritty, hard-nosed player. Sometimes takes it a bit too far, of course, and he kind of cost us a 5-on-3 power play tonight. So he's been good, and when he's focused on his game and he can put the puck in the net. And C.J. Garcia has been a great addition, too, to our back end, and, a guy who, when he was named captain of the Storm at the start of the year, I thought it was a really good choice.
Yeah, I mean, you're sporting to see, obviously, a veteran there back there, and I mean, look, I mean, you make those moves for the deadline, you try to make those, and you have to give up young parts, and, for Guelph going forward, when you look at this young hockey club, you have to be encouraged what you've seen of late going forward.
It is really encouraging, plus with the fact that only 2 players won't be coming back next year in our overagers of Jacob Harris and Michael Jigavaz. Everyone else is coming back next year. Whether or not some get moved on through trades or whatnot, we'll see. We got a really big draft coming up, probably a top 3 pick, maybe first overall, so we'll see. I think better times are going to be ahead. We had our kind of rock bottom moment earlier this year when we lost so many in a row there, but it's going to be really good, and I think next year we might be able to challenge for a playoff spot, but moving forward, I think it's still going to be a couple years away before we're really challenging for any type of championships.
And just quickly here, just give us final what's going on tomorrow, a quick where you can find you.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at OHL Fanboys. Of course, also follow OvertimeSportsNation.com. We're affiliated with them. And OHLFanboys.com, 8 p.m. tomorrow night, we'll be streaming our live video podcast and our special guest, Sam Cosentino from Rogers Sportsnet.
Well, thanks for coming out, Steve, and letting us know what's going on with the podcast. And we'll be right back after these messages with more Barrie Colts Guelph Storm hockey.